Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Author Success Show. We have with us one of our favorite clients, Nikhil Raval. Nikhil is a TEDx speaker and he's also the author of the best selling book, Target Gen Z. Nikhil is a leadership, learning, and change organizational development expert. He works with international firms across the globe on challenges at the intersection of business and people. After having a fantastic career in the financial sector and also being the MD of Duke CE in India, Nikhil in 2018 decided to become an entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Nikhil.
Thanks, Jyotsna. Nice to be here.
It's so nice to interview authors that I've personally worked with. So tell me, Nikhil, did you always wanted to become an author, or did that idea suddenly happen?
Jyotsna, if I think back for the last 3, 4 years in all of my work in leadership development, I noticed that a lot of the clients and the faculty and the experts that we used to get in the room, they always had something published. And I was the one running away as far as I could because I always thought, where is the time and what's the value and who would read? But fortunately, I had two very good mentors who kind of slowly tried to create an interest in me. So it began with short articles in a journal, not an academic journal, a practicing journal. And I realized the first thing, it's a very hard thing to do. But I also realized that the moment you do write it and clients see it or read it, they kind of see you differently. And so that was for about a couple of years. And then finally I said, look, I think I've done enough of that, but the next leap could be a book. I was very frightened to do a book. I had no idea what to do or where to start until I met a friend who himself had completed a book through undergoing your course. And advice said, look, why don't you get in touch? And I think that's how the journey began. And it was 6 months of hard work, but very happy that it's finally done. And I think it's a great feeling.
I'm so happy for you as well, Nikhil. So, how did you decide that your space is going to be Gen Z? Because that's a very small target market. So, how did you realize? Was it during the time of writing the book, or even before that, you realized that this is the segment I'm going to really master?
So just I wasn't exactly sure what will be a potential topic. I knew that I wanted to write on something that maybe I had some experience and maybe something I can do a little more research on. But I certainly didn't have the time or the bent of doing a traditional researchers kind of a lens. But what helped me was that when I joined the course is that you kind of make everyone to get a clarity of okay what could be a topic, who could be the reader. And I had heard this from others, but it didn't really sink in until and unless I said that okay, if I'm really going to write a book, like who would want to read this? And so then I said, what can I do which both will have a curiosity, where I have a little bit of experience and also I can bring my own personal experience as a parent. So I have a young son who is a Gen Z. I have a nephew who is a Gen Z. And all my
Right.
15 years of work, I saw a lot of young talent in the company kind of struggling with some issues. So I figured, look, let's do this, and hopefully there's some curiosity in the marketplace on that topic. So that's how
Right.
it began.
Very nice, because I'm sure even the clients that you work with in their companies, most of their employees and vendors and the people they are dealing with are slowly going to be in the Gen Z segment, right? So I think your book is very futuristic in that way.
Yeah, I think there is a lot written, Jyotsna, on the Gen Y. If one is familiar with the generations, which is the millennial generation, on how we should understand them and what are their preferences and so on. But the Gen Z is kind of the next generation, if you will, who will
So
enter the
these are people who
workforce.
are born in the 2000s.
Yeah, these are people. So the Gen Z is the one which is from 1980 to 1995, and that's Gen Y, and the Gen Z would be from 95 onwards till 2012. So you can think about, yeah, roughly. So that's the span where if you have someone, or if you know. So the oldest Gen Z would be roughly about 23, 24 years old, right? So they would just be entering the workforce, and what are their preferences? Because these are true digital natives. What's their career preferences? How do they learn? How are they as consumers? So those are the three kind of distinct lenses I've taken, and I'm hoping that companies can benefit people in the learning field can benefit. So, instructors in college, people in school, and of course, companies who market products to Gen Z, right? Like, how are they very distinctively different than a Gen Y or other generations?
Right. See, there's so much you can talk about this topic because I can see that passion. So, was it difficult for you to really structure the book? Did you follow any particular approach? Because there are different kinds of people who could be reading your book. So, how did you approach the outline and the structure of the book?
So what I struggled with just now initially was that, okay, what element or what part of Gen Z should we write? And as I researched, I found that a whole lot of the Gen Z books were written in the West, so by American authors or Western
Hmm.
authors. I think there's perhaps only one author who was written on Gen Z, kind of in the Asian or the Indian context. And so I felt like, look, there is an opportunity for me to kind of do something which may be relevant to an audience here.
Yeah.
So that was sort of my initial way of looking at to say that, okay, why don't we pursue something slightly contextual to a local audience? But of course, there were stories about Gen Z that people can relate across the globe.
Hmm.
And I tried to, the books that have been written exclusively on like one topic. But what I try to do is kind of give a high level view, trying to look at three different lenses. One is them as a consumer, as a learner, and then of course certainly as an employee.
So, these are like the three sections of your book.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you arrived at this bird's eye view of what you want to cover, how easy or difficult was it for you to actually sit down and write the book?
It was very difficult, but I think what it was very difficult from the point of view that it required a certain amount of discipline and the rigor. But again, I think, and I mentioned this in the book, is that it's the HSP and the ESA community that's there. It's your guidance in terms of, okay, what are the different steps, making sure that you have a clear roadmap, you have in your mind, and you're going to try and kind of reach that. So there were days where writing wasn't happening. There were days where writing was happening a lot. In between, there was COVID. And I think around November, I think it really just took a pause. But again, it took up in December. And then once we was that final lap, I think we really got the momentum to finish it. So 6 months, and I think I was done, door to door, finished.
One thing I noticed about your project, Nikhil, is many authors are just fine with having the book published whenever it's done. But then you had a specific, launch dates, which obviously changed a little bit. But then you had something to look forward to, right? That by this time I want the book to be out. I think that also probably helped you to stay on track.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so. The launch date, it moved, but I had a rough kind of month in which I wanted to get this out, and I think the advice just now that really stuck with me from other authors, and even when speaking to you and others, is that it's important to get a good book out and not a perfect book out. And so I'm sure if I look at my book, I feel that while it's a good book and there are many things I can add, but the goal was that there was sufficient that I knew that let me just put it,
Yeah.
and maybe just from this experience I can try and refine it, in the future if I ever do a one more book. But I think keeping that made it happen, because I think, like you've said, many occasions that there are people who can write and write till like 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, and there's nothing wrong in that. But for me, I think the last year's window was the best window, and I think when I took that approach, the end was sort of there, so, which was good.
Yeah. So, what would be your one advice to authors who are still thinking, am I really good enough to write a book? There are already so many books on this topic. Who will read my book? I'm sure these are thoughts that would have passed every author's mind at some point of time. So, what would be your advice to those who are still thinking and not really doing?
Josna, this is exactly what I mentioned in the book. And to quote you, I say that I was myself undergoing the imposter syndrome, because to say that so many deep experts are out there, they know, they research, and so what good, what will be the additional value? But I think the moment you start writing, you know that there is enough in you or enough in each one of us that they can write to come up with a good story in your own words, which is unique to you, right? And so that's what I've kind of tried to do. And so the one advice would be to look, not get scared about the tall mountain that you have to climb, just think about every day you're going to climb 500 meters or whatever, and then make sure that if you do that for even 30 days, 60 days, or 4 months, you'll eventually get to that summit. And I think discipline is the key. And the more you begin, and as you begin, you will realize that look, there's enough, and you yourself become very passionate. So I think that self-doubt goes away
Yeah.
and confidence takes over.
True. I think that momentum, that initial push is really important, and the momentum to keep going. And then you are on a different zone and you want to just finish it and see the book finally.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
is there
Absolutely.
any one special thing that happened after the book, Nikhil? Like your family, friends, how are they reacting to this?
Well, they were surprised. No, no, they were very happy. I think my extended family perhaps was just they received this announcement from me as a surprise, and so they were very pleasantly surprised, of course. And I have a lot of extended family in the U.S., and so they marketed the book widely, of course, into my college group. I've said so wherever I shared, of course, I think there was a lot of reception, but more than anything, Jyotsna, it was just the feeling of having to kind of achieve that one new milestone that I've set out to myself. And there was also a kind of personal reason, which was a dedication to my late parents. And so I think there was a determination in my mind to say that, look, I have to do it. That's the immediate I can do, and that's the one thing I can do. So
Yeah.
having done that, I think there's a sense of satisfaction, and of course it's helped me in different ways in sort of increasing my awareness of who I am and what I do with clients and other people. It just puts you at a new in a different bracket. So I would encourage everyone, like, look, whatever that if you've spent some time and you have some expertise, take the time, and it'll something that'll be there forever, right? Even when your work's done, people remember you
Yeah.
through the book.
So true, Nikhil. What I learned from your experience is most of us write a book for some professional gain, but you also attached a personal reason behind it, to be a dedication for your parents. And I think having that kind of a strong emotional connect will help us, reach the finish line. So thank you for sharing all these amazing things with us, Nikhil. Where can people find out more about your work? If they want to work with you or read your book, where should they go and how can they connect with you?
So, Joseph, the book is called Target Gen Z, understanding the mindset of Gen Z when it comes to learning brands and them as a consumer. And the book is available on Amazon, both on Amazon.com for the and of course in India it's Amazon.in. You can get the paperback as well as the Kindle version. And of course, I have a site as well. It's called learnwisely.in, where you will see the work I do. But of course, there's the book, the people who have recommended the book, the forward. You can get free chapters. So I would highly encourage that. Come see that, take a sneak peek, and hopefully it interests you. You can buy the full book and give us a review on how you liked it.
Sure. So in the show notes, we'll have the links to your book as well as your website. And I highly recommend our viewers, listeners to go check it out and not just to learn about Gen Z, but also draw some inspiration to write your own book. Thank you so much once again, Nikhil, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jyotsna. It's been great working with you. Take care.
Thank you.